What's up YouTube? Welcome to a brand new video. In this video, I am going to be taking you through my editing workflow in 2025, what has changed from previous years, and basically I'll be trying to take this image from the image on the left that you can see here to what it looks like on the image on the right. Some of the softwares I'll be using include Capture One, which we're in now. We'll probably use some Evoto and some Photoshop. So those are the three softwares we'll be using, and hopefully I can recreate this because I did this quite a while ago. So let's just jump straight into it. Okay, so this is exactly, okay, not exactly. Let me reset this and you can see exactly how this image was shot. But let me create a clone copy of this so that we have the original to work with. So this is exactly how this image was shot. It was shot with three lights. We have a few lights coming from the top, lighting a face. We have optical snooze creating these patterns from camera right. It's on the floor here, and we have a few lights just to make sure that the shadows are filled up a little bit. Now the first thing I did here was to create a gradient mask. So by pressing L in Capture One, I could just draw that mask down like this, and if you press M, you can see what the mask is doing. The reason I'm trying to do this is I want to brighten up this top part of the image just a little bit, and I'm going to do that with my levels. So levels here, I'm just going to push the whites a bit, and if we press Y, you can see before and after, and that really helps to solve that problem a bit. I don't know about you guys, but for me personally, I always like the top of my image to be probably a little bit more lit than the bottom part of my image. So I could create a new layer as well and press L, and then just do the opposite of what I did before, but this time I'll reduce the brightness a bit. Okay, so right now I feel like we have a more balanced image. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is just to add one of my styles or presets. So custom styles here, I'm just going to go to film, right click and say apply to new layer. If you want to buy this preset, I'm going to put the link in the description below for you to purchase it. It's very affordable. Now for film, I'm just going to drop the opacity down to 50%, and that's one thing that you need to take note of, is that you don't always have to use your presets at 100% if it's too much. So this is before and after. And next thing we're going to try to do is just to select her skin alone and try to pop her skin a little bit. So to do that, we could do it a couple of ways, but I'm just going to go to layers and masks here and come to this people. Now I'll click this drop down menu here and I'll click body skin, face skin. We can leave the people and iris, or we could just select everything, honestly speaking, right? And just click create mask. So what it does is that it tries to select everything you've selected, and if you press M, you can see that we've completely selected her skin and left out the outfit that she's wearing. There are some places where there might be some artifacts here, and you can use a normal brush. I'm just going to increase flow and opacity, use a normal brush to brush in all those areas. Okay, so because I want her skin to pop a bit more, I'm just going to go back to my levels and use the whites to push up her skin just a little bit. Okay, so we've gone from this to this. So overall, we've gone from this to this. Okay, so next thing I'll say, let's crop. Thank God now Instagram allows 4:3 crop, so we can do 4:3 instead of 4:5. It's a little narrower, and I'm just going to crop it like this. And this is what we currently have. Okay, now you can see our eyes are a bit yellow here, and we're just going to whiten those quickly. We can come back to the people section here and then just click on the sclera here. That's literally the white part of the eyes, and click create mask. Once you do that, it's going to select the white part of the eye like that, and then you can bring down saturation a bit and bring up brightness. Right, you can also select the pupil and iris and create another mask, and that selects that. But what I'll just do to make this work is that I click an eraser, and I'm just going to erase. Hold on, why can't I see my eraser? Okay, it was too big. I'm just going to erase the inner part of the eye. Increase the flow and opacity, just erase the inner part of the eye like that on both sides, because I still want that side to be black, and then I can increase shadow a bit. So that just makes the eye pop a little bit more. Let's reduce the opacity of that a little bit. Okay, and then we've gone from here to here. So next is for us to go to either Photoshop or Evoto, but I would say let's go to Evoto first. But before we do that, Capture One has some new features here. If I go to the Refine tab here, you see that it selects her face here, and I can just remove blemishes by pulling to the right, and bam. So we're able to remove blemishes just like that. We could go and show you before and after, before, after. Yeah, it left this little one here, and I can just work on that by pressing Q for healing. Just brush it off. It should take care of that. Just like that, gone. I'm really excited about AI retouching in the future and where it's going to get to. But for now, let's jump straight into Evoto. I always like to go to Evoto before I go to Photoshop because I feel like in Photoshop I have the power to do everything I want to do. So I want that to be my last point. I don't want to go to Photoshop, then have to go to Evoto, and in case I can't finish off the image in Evoto, have to go back again to Photoshop. So the workflow for me in 2025 so far is Capture One, Evoto, then Photoshop. And that is when we do Photoshop. Sometimes we just do Capture One, Evoto, depending on the image. Okay, if you haven't used Evoto before, Evoto is a AI editing software that just automatically and magically helps you to fix things in your image. So I'll show you guys some examples. So we're just going to zoom straight into the image now. And even though we've already removed most of the blemishes on our face, we could do things like just scroll to the right here and you can remove things like neck wrinkles. So where is that? So you can see neck wrinkles here, and as we pull that, you can see that the neck wrinkles have been removed just like that. It even has things like armpit touch up, so we're just going to pull this as well to clean up things like the armpits. And basically there are a lot of things here. You can even do like skin retouching and do like even dodge and burn to even out the skin, and you can press spacebar to see before and after everything you've done. You can even out the body skin as well, and just pull this all the way, and that's what you get. Okay, but even more important and what's even more impressive is working on hair, because I know that you agree with me that hair is a big problem for most people to retouch. So we're just going to pull this stray hair removal and pull it all the way to the right, and you can see just like that all the stray hair, both outside of her and inside, have been removed. And we will also do like hair shine enhancement and then just blacken some of the hair as well, and boom, we have fixed the hair. Okay, so next thing we are going to do is to we can smoothen the hair as well. So let's just pull that a bit. What I'd say is that you want to be careful with smoothing the hair because it starts to look a bit like a drawing. So just don't pull that slider too much, just a little is fine. And it also has other things like helping you to clean up the background, but I know that it struggles when it comes to, for example, because I have done this thing where we have lit the bottom of the backdrop, it might struggle a bit. But let's first of all remove distractions, and you can see that there was this distraction here as part of my light stand that has been removed. We're also going to click on clean backdrop and let's see what it does. So it actually cleaned the backdrop a little bit, but my only problem with it is that I got rid of this shadow here, and for me personally that shadow is a good part of the image. I don't want to get rid of that shadow, so I am not going to clean the backdrop in Evoto because of that. But if for any reason you have used just a plain backdrop, no special lighting on the floor, Evoto is amazing for cleaning the backdrop. So I'm just gonna not do that this time. Hold on. Oh, it was the distraction removal that did that, not the clean backdrop. Okay, so I guess we wouldn't do it then. Okay, so this is where we currently are at, and we can also do wrinkle clothing. So you can pull that like that, and you can see before and after in some of the clothing has been dewrinkled. If it's like a really obvious one, it does a good job at dewrinkling the clothes. So we've gone from this to this so far in Evoto, and I think it's done a decent job. I mean, for something that we're able to do in under 3 minutes, I think that's is definitely worth it. So we're just going to go out of Evoto now and try and finish this image off in Photoshop. So I'll click export, and I'm just going to export the file. And when you do that, it sends the file back to Capture One, which is the way I like to work, because Capture One is like the main place I'm working. So it sends it back to Capture One. So if we go straight to Capture One, we should be able to find the file. Let me just look for it. Okay, so this is the file here. It is back from Evoto with all the changes, and if we just wanted to compare, this is the file before we sent it to Evoto, and this is the file after. So mostly what we did was fix things like the hair and neck wrinkles, things like that is what we really did here in Evoto. Now the next thing I want to do is just take this file straight to Photoshop. So I'm going to right click and edit with Adobe Photoshop 2025. Okay, so Photoshop is where I'm going to try to do more of the work on the image, where I'll do things like clean up the background, because of this specific image we had struggles with cleaning up the background in Evoto, and also do things like any other extra thing that I need to do, like Liquify. If I need to do a little bit more retouching, depending on the image, I could do that. So I'm just going to run through the image and clean it up a bit. So first thing I'm going to do is use my patch tool to remove that distraction right there. I'm also going to come to the bottom of the image here and clean this up. We'll also need to clean up the background generally. So I'm going to create a check layer and create check layer here. If you don't have this check layer, it is from an action from FX-Ray. I would put a link in the description for you to get it. So when I click this, I can see the backdrop in like a very contrasty format, so I could clean it better. I'm just going to go straight and use my mixer brush tool. These are the settings I'm using right here, and I'm going to clean up some of this. It's also helpful sometimes to turn off your check layer just to make sure that you are not messing with the image too much. Nothing too crazy, especially in the top of the image, is mostly fine. You want to figure out the bottom part here is where I'm seeing some of that fold, and so I'm just going to clean there. Sometimes you want to use a hard brush so that you're more precise, and then we can go in here and clean up all of this. So I'll probably just fast forward this part of the video. Okay, so we are done with cleaning up the background now. Let me just do a general cleanup here so you can see before and after. Not bad. So we're just going to flatten this image now, and then I'll do some frequency separation. I'm going to use advanced, and I'll probably use a radius of 3.3 because it's a full image. I have a video explaining how to, if you have problems with frequency separation, how to know how much blur to use. So I'm just going to go over the parts that were missed by Evoto. I might do some extra work on the face. If I wanted to, I could also come up and clean up. So Evoto missed some of the stray hairs on the face here, as you can see. So we're just going to use clone stamp on the high layer to fix all of that. I'll probably take more time if I was doing this for my clients, but for the sake of this tutorial, you get what I mean. You can also use the check layer here to see where to brush. Again, for the mixer brush, you can see the settings here. Okay, so nothing too crazy. I'm just gonna clean up. Oops. I still want her ribs to show. I think her leg here needs some work as well. Just quick brushing. I try not to focus too much on the retouching aspect of things anymore. I try to make my images stand out and interesting from the shoots. Okay, that's pretty much everything I would do for retouching. Anything extra, that's like after I have gone through Evoto, so you can see before and after. I can reduce the opacity of that a little bit. And then now I am going to flatten it by pressing Shift, Option, Command E, which is what I did here. And now go Shift, Command X, and Shift, Command X takes me to Liquify. Now I'm just going to go to Liquify, and because I want her head to be a bit more, the shape to be a bit more defined. It looks a bit wonky, so I'm just going to bring the top down and pull this part out. By the way, I am using my warp tool brush at like a pressure of 2. So that means I could really push it without seeing too much of an effect immediately. That helps you to really fine tune the process when you're using the Liquify tool. Okay, so we have that. And you can see before and after. So I think this looks better. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is just clean up. Even though Evoto helped us clean up majority of the stray hair, it's not like perfect. So I'll just do something like that. So before and after. Okay, I think the last thing I did here was I didn't like the way this part of the image was. So I just selected this whole part here and clicked on generative fill. Okay, so I'm just going to click generative fill and give it a few minutes or a few seconds, depending on your internet connection. Okay, so we have 3 options. So I think I'll go with the second option. That definitely makes a huge difference to that part of the image. I am also going to go back to Liquify and I feel like her face feels a bit broad now. So I'm just going to push in a bit on the hair and elongate this a bit. I just don't want her face to feel that broad, so before and after. Okay, and I'm going to flatten all of these by pressing Shift Command E and then Command S to save. And that would take us back again to Capture One. Now I do this thing a lot where in Capture One is where I do like my final color grading. So I do the first one, which is my preset we added at the beginning of this video, but I would still do a few more things. We could leave the image like this, it totally works, but I'll just change a few things. Now the first thing I noticed is that her face and her skin kind of have a green undertone to them, and her legs then have a magenta undertone to it. So to fix that, I want to create a new layer and rename it legs. And so press B for brush, and I'm going to go to the AI select brush here. So with the AI select brush, I can select her legs just like that. And we have our legs. And we want to go to the skin tone tool. So look for skin tone and sample her legs, and then just shift the hue to the right. Shifting it to the left adds more magenta, shifting it to the right add some greens. I'll also add some saturation to it, and that way her legs match her body a little bit more. But I am also going to just right now I want to select the dark parts of the image. So I mean like the dark parts of the background, because I want to add a bit of color to it. So I'll create a new layer and use the AI brush to just click and select where I want. The brush is quite smart, and it will just help you select where it thinks you want to select, which is like very, very accurate. I'll say like 90-something% accurate. So like that, we have selected majority of the shadows and the backdrop. I'm also going to switch to a normal brush and then just, pick the areas that I missed. So what I want to do is go to my color balance here and go to shadows, and I just want to add some green to it. So like that, add some green to it, and I'm also going to reduce the brightness a bit. So we've gone from this to this, this to this. Okay, so I like it a lot, but I'm going to create a new layer, and this time around I'm going to select our outfit. So I'll go to AI select and then just click and drag, or just click in some cases, click, click, click. If you want to know exactly how this tool works, I have a whole video on how this tool works. So I'm just gonna put the video in the description below so you can watch it. So also in my shadows, I'm going to add the same color. The reason I'm not just doing everything once is that I don't want to reduce the brightness on her dress. So I'm just going to add the greens a bit to her outfits. Just a bit like that. So just like that, we've gone from this to this. I am also going to create another layer and press T for radial gradients. You want to right click and uncheck draw mask inside because I want to draw the mask outside. So click and drag and pick the inner ring just to feather it a bit, so that way I have a selection that is all over her. We can adjust that selection a bit more like this, and we're just going to reduce the brightness. So we're just trying to draw more attention to my subject. Okay, so we have that. Lastly, I'm going to click on my subjects here because I want to select just my subjects. Okay, and I'm going to add some clarity to my subject a bit. That will just make her pop a bit. And I don't know why, but I just want to reduce the brightness a bit. Okay, that looks good. If we really want her skin to be a lot darker, we can create just like a skin selection like we did earlier in the video. So we create that mask. Okay, and we want to go to skin tone sample, click on skin tone, and then just bring down the lightness a bit. You can bring down the saturation as well. If you want to do, you can also use advanced if you want it to be a bit more prominent. So bring down, maybe that's too much. I'll just reduce the opacity a bit. And we've gone from this to this, and we've gone from this to this. Lastly, I think just for fun in this particular image, I think I added built-in presets. I went to film grain and I added some grains to the image. I don't know why I like doing this nowadays, just adding some grain to the picture. Let's use silver. So that just adds some extra grain to the picture. Especially when I'm shooting like pen paper, it works nice to add grain to the image. Okay, so just like that, we have gone from this. Let me reset this all the way to this. Let me know if you guys like this color grade and what we did. If you've learned something, let us know in the comment section below. Please be sure you subscribe to the channel. We have a lot more videos coming like this, and thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one. Cheers.